Havi was the skybrid I created to fight Team Merrimack in the Skybrid Wars. And if you've been keeping up with the Skybrid Wars, you'll know that Harvey became the fourth hybrid to reach the rank of Apex, a rank which I'm honoured to hold. You know, the Harvey video did way better than I ever thought it would. I mean, at time of recording, it's got over 400 views. Now, in terms of YouTube status, that's probably nothing, but it means a lot to a very small creator. So, since we didn't really have a limit on how many hybrids we could challenge Team Merrimack with, I figured I would throw in a new batch of contenders into the ring, because I had planned a few backups in case Harvey failed. This was probably the most promising backup after them all. The falcon flies. Falco Volare. Length 2 feet. Weight 1 pound. Wingspan 4 feet. Flying speed 60 miles per hour. So, funny story about these guys. These were originally going to be joining Harvey in the battle, essentially serving like little drones, because one of the battle strategies Zane suggested was a pterosaur accompanied by 4 insects. So there was originally only 4 of the falcon flies, but after Harvey did so well, I took some time and added another one. So these are the falcon flies. Buzz, Buzzy, Buzzard, Bazinga, and Steve. And if you'll notice, their eye colours are actually all from different soul colours in Undertale, because there's been a lot of Undertale references throughout the Skybrid Wars, so I figured I'd be on theme, so you can distinguish the falconflies through their eye colours. Now, unlike previous bug hybrids like Corn and Beetlejuice, who used Meganeuropsis as the base, I'm not going to be doing that. The only contributors that Meganeuropsis provides for us is the increased size. That'll be necessary to actually do any damage to Team Merrimack. So, I chose a different base, one that won't be nearly as conflictive with each other, and that's the robber fly. Now, flies in general are generally regarded as being nothing more than pests, but flies actually have some very overpowered abilities. The first one being their incredibly fast reaction times. Now, as a fly, you essentially see the world in slow motion. And long-time viewers will also know that a fly was what I tried to put into my very first hybrid, Adam, in an attempt to give it incredibly fast reaction times, which just wouldn't have worked in a much larger creature. But in the much smaller falcon flies, it'll hopefully be somewhat more effective. Another thing that flies possess is that they actually don't have 4 wings, they only have 2. Flies traded one pair of their wings for these weird structures called halteres. Now, the best way I can describe a haltere is essentially like a mini gyro, like what you would find in a drone, which will allow these flies to hover and have a full 360-degree range of rotation. Similar to other dragonflies, but in my opinion, it's better. Now, the robber fly, in this case, takes this to the extreme by literally using its slowing time ability and its precise movements to literally grab bees, wasps, and even hummingbirds out of midair with its long legs. These longer legs will also end up giving my hybrid, a disjointed hitbox, since the robber fly uses this to grab its prey before finishing them off with an armor-piercing bite. So, the robber fly also contributes to its strong mandibles. I'm also going to be boosting our hybrid's speed and agility with the fastest insect, the horsefly. Now, this won't be getting nearly as fast as the horsefly, but it hopefully should still be efficient enough so that Team Merrimack won't be able to catch it. Our hybrid needs a weapon, otherwise it's not going to be able to take out anything. So, I went with the sting of probably one of the worst insects to get stung by, the Asian giant hornet. These stings rank among the highest on the Schmidt Sting Pain Index. Furthermore, it's also able to spray its sting out of its mouth. Now, of course, while that won't really do much to Maggie, especially because of her improved immune system, if the venom gets in her eyes, it would or hurt or Volt's eyes, then it would definitely prove to be effective. But this venom alone wouldn't be enough to actually fully kill Maggie, or maybe even Volt. So I added a special component into the venom to basically make it guaranteed death for either one of them. This is a very set strategy that I had in mind for a while, creating a cocktail of toxins so powerful that literally no creature could be able to survive it, no matter what they added to the immune system. To modify this creature's killing abilities, we'll be adding an insect that has a body count in not the hundreds, not the thousands, but possibly in the millions. And no, it's not the mosquito. That's too obvious. Most people would generally assume that mosquitoes are dangerous, so they avoid them. They wouldn't think so much for a certain fly. The tsetse fly has a body count of, at the minimum, around 10,000 bodies a year, which is why this is probably the second most dangerous bug in Africa. Now, the reason why this insect is so dangerous is because it has the ability to carry a parasite called trypanosoma. Now, granted, Maggie especially has a bolstered immune system, but that's to protect against bacteria and viruses. Parasites are very different. Now, granted, I know that the tsetse fly has to already be infected in order for it to pass on this parasite to a human, but considering Maggie and Volt were both trained, it's safe to assume that we can help to modify our hybrids with a little few kinks before we send them out to hunt them. So, for this, all of the falcon flies will be infected with trypanosoma heading into their battle. Now, unlike the tsetse fly, the parasite won't be passed through the proboscis, but instead it will be injected through the stinger with the venom. So that way it'll be able to easily get into the body, and once it will basically shut them down from the inside out, causing things like heart failure, kidney failure, anemia, and if Maggie's ever pregnant, then she might get a visit from a lady called Miss Carrie. In fact, there's a reason why they were called falcon flies. I mean, not only is it another homage to The Future is Wild with their falcon flies, but these hybrids were specifically meant to target Maggie for our strategy. Now, the way this works is that we kind of have to explain what are the other side effects of the tsetse fly's trypanosoma. The first one being is that it deteriorates the body, to the point where for Maggie and Volt, the simple act of flying, eating, or even opening their eyes can leave them exhausted. On top of this, it also wrecks their sleeping schedule, causing insomnia at night and narcolepsy during the day, which is why this is often known as African sleepy sickness. But there is one trait in particular that we really want, and that is victims of trypanosoma can experience drastic changes in personality, which causes random uncontrollable outbursts of violence. The infected become so dangerous that others have to tie them up to prevent them hurting anyone, including themselves. Although in our case, if Maggie or Volt were to hurt themselves, that would just be a bonus. Therefore, if we infect one of them, given enough time, they could possibly grow to start deteriorating from the effects and could possibly end up killing their partner. So it could lead to Maggie killing Volt without having the falconflies ever having to touch him. And then the trypanosoma will eventually cause Maggie to slip into a coma, the kind that you don't wake up from. Now, how are the falconflies actually going to do this? Well, actually quite simple. They need to be trained to do that. Now, granted, Maggie and Volt were also trained, so it makes sense that we'd be able to train our hybrids, but how do you train an insect? Believe it or not, it is possible, and the first contributor to achieve this is the sand wasp. The only thing we're really taking from the sand wasp is its actual lifestyle, as sand wasps end up living in burrows. The falconflies will be doing the same, making burrows throughout the dense forest that inhabits the zone. And they'll be able to detect Maggie and Volt thanks to their special senses. Now, to explain how these creatures are actually trained, it all revolves down to the last contributor. which is one of the only insects that humans have been able to train. The insect in question is the honeybee. This works because the honeybee's antennae work very similarly to a dog's nose. These are by far some of the smartest insects, so including them in the hybrid will make them much smarter. Far from a smart hybrid, but they are not completely stupid either. Now, we've been able to train bees to sniff for explosives. Yes, that is an actual true story. We found this out because the scent of an explosive causes the bees to engage in a proboscis extension reflex, or a purr for short. Most likely called that because that's the noise they probably make when they purr. So, in this case, they won't be trained to sniff for explosives, but the falcon flies will be trained to purr from the scent of Maggie, which was acquired from their battle with Havi, from the zone. Once Havi returned from the zone, we were able to acquire scent samples from both Maggie and Volt in order to test on the falcon flies, which we've seen great success for, as they understand that they are the enemies. So the plan is that, thanks to the sand wasp contributors from earlier, they will leave their burrow after detecting the scent, sting Maggie, and then immediately fall back to their burrows, where Maggie and Volt can't reach them. After that, it's only a matter of time, just waiting for the parasites and the venom to take full effect, and eventually likely lead to the death of both members of Team Mermac. So the falcon flies are ready, hopefully, to become the first bugs to reach apex tier. They're not making the same mistakes that Corn and Beetlejuice did, because they are cooperative, they are intelligent, and they are deadlier, possibly the deadliest insects in the entire Skybrid Wars. And with there now being 5 of them, Team Mimic is going to have a lot of problems deal with them. But this might not just be a thing limited to them. If another hybrid ends up entering the forests, the falconflies may end up targeting it too, if it shares similar connections with Maggie. So this could lead to a domino effect of Trypanosomas sweeping through the entire Skybrid Wars, which is very dangerous. Now, of course, you might be wondering, I've already got an Apex, but in the arena, there's never really any guarantees. And plus, they did say they were allowed to challenge them again, but they never said we didn't have to not challenge them if we already got Apex. So, having more Apexes in the arena on your side will greatly improve your chances of victory in the arena, for when all the hybrids inevitably have their free-for-all. And after my hybrids end up making it into the arena and killing off all the competition, it'll be down to the best, the true kings of the skies. Havi's already made it. Hopefully the falconflies can do the same.